Family Feud is an American game show in which two families compete against each other in a contest to name the most popular responses to a survey question posed to 100 people. The show was created by Mark Goodson and Bill Todman in the United States, and now airs in numerous local formats worldwide. Since its premiere in 1976, Family Feud has aired during 31 non-consecutive seasons. The show premiered on ABC and was hosted by Richard Dawson until it was cancelled in 1985, by which point it had been popular on both the network and in syndication. The series was revived by CBS in 1988 with Ray Coombs hosting and aired until 1993. Coombs also hosted its accompanying syndicated series until 1994, when he was replaced by Dawson. This series came to an end in 1995. The current series premiered in 1999 and has been hosted by Louie Anderson, Richard Karn, and John O'Hurley. Since the 2010 Euro 11 television season, Family Feud has been hosted by comedian-actor Steve Harvey. The show's ratings have improved significantly under Harvey. During the 2011 Euro 12 season, the fast-rising game show averaged a 4.0 and became the fifth highest-rated show in all of syndication. In 2013, TV Guide ranked it number 3 in its list of the 60 greatest game shows ever. Gameplay: representatives of the family are posed questions that have already been answered by a survey of 100 people, although the surveyed audience may sometimes be further narrowed down. An answer is considered correct if it is one of the concealed answers on the game board or judged to be equivalent. More points are given for answers that have been given by more people in the survey, with 1 point per person. Dollars were used instead of points prior to 1992. Answers must be given by at least 2 of the 100 people surveyed to be included on the board, and a survey question must yield at least 3 or 4 total answers to be used on the show. There are 5 members on each team, except during the 1994 Euro 95 season, when each team consisted of 4 members. Basics: to start each round of the main game, 2 opposing family members face off to see which family will gain control of that particular question. Traditionally, the contestants greet each other with a handshake before the question is read. Whoever guesses the more popular answer in the survey has the option to play the question or pass it to the other family opponents, except from 1988 to 1995, when they were automatically given control of the board. Players are also automatically given control if they guess the answer most commonly given, which is located in the top space of the survey board. If both answers are worth the same number of points, control goes to the player that buzzed in first. If neither player gives a valid answer, your next member of each family provides an answer, with control again going to the family giving the more popular answer. Starting with the next family member in line, the family members take turns giving an answer to the host. Family members may not confer with one another while in control of the board. There is a time limit, with the host warning of a 3-second count if time is short or the contestant appears to be stalling. An answer not on the board or a family member failing to provide an answer within the time limit results in a strike being charged to the family. When a family is able to reveal all the answers on the board before accumulating 3 strikes, they win the round and the bank. When a family in control accumulates 3 strikes, control passes to the other family, who then has 1 chance to steal the points in the bank by correctly guessing one of the remaining unrevealed answers. The family is allowed to confer before coming up with an answer, which then must be given by the team's captain. If the family guesses a remaining answer correctly, they receive the points accumulated by the other family. If unsuccessful, the opponents keep the points they scored during the round before 3 strikes. From 1992 Euro 95 and from 1999 Euro 03, the revealed answer's value was also added to the winning team's score. For the first 6 years of the 1988 Family Feud revival, conferring was not allowed. Instead, each team member was polled and asked for a response beginning with the anchor player and moving down the line to the captain, who had to decide whether to take one of the answers from his/her teammates or give another answer. This was similar to another match game mechanic used in the audience match portion of the Super Match bonus game, where a player would poll the panel for 3 potential responses and then either choose one or come up with one of their own. The rule was discarded once Richard Dawson returned as host in September 1994, and conferring has been allowed ever since. After determining who takes the bank for a round, any remaining answers are then revealed. Per tradition, the audience yells each unrevealed answer in a choral response from lowest to highest. Prior to the series moving to Atlanta, the unrevealed answers were read from highest to lowest. Bullseye Bankroll Round, from 1992 to 1994 and in the 2009 October season, the Bullseye Round was played before the traditional gameplay began. One at a time and starting with the team captain, each member of the family went up to the podium to answer a survey question worth a dollar amount. Only the number one answer was accepted. Correctly guessing the number one answer added the value of that question to the family's bankroll. The Bullseye Round first appeared on Family Feud Challenge, where it was played in both halves of the hour-long show. In the first half, each family began with $2,500 as their starting bankroll. The first question was worth $500, the second $1,000, and so on up to $2,500 for the fifth question. The highest bank a family could play for was $10,000. In the second half hour, as well as on the syndicated series when the round was introduced, all of these values were doubled, with the starting bankroll at $5,000. The questions were worth $1,000 for the first, $2,000 for the second, and so on, up to $5,000 for the fifth. The highest potential bank was $20,000. The Bullseye Round was revised as the Bankroll Round for Dawson's return, and was played twice on each episode as the syndicated series was expanded to 60 minutes. Instead of each family member going up to answer a question, only one person on each team was required, and the 2 contestants participated in all 3 questions. The starting bankroll in the first half was $2,500 and the question values were changed to $500, a $1,500, a $2,500, for a possible bank total of $7,000. These figures were doubled for the second half to $1,000, a $3,000, a $5,000, making the highest potential bank $14,000. The round was eliminated for Family Feud's revival in 1999, but was revived in September 2009 for the final early season. The starting bankroll was $15,000, with 5 questions in values from $1,000 to $5,000 in $1,000 increments. This format change only lasted 1 season. Scoring format: questions are played for double and triple points toward the end of the game. Before 1992, families also received money in the amount of their score added to their winnings. The number of double and triple point questions in the game has varied over the years. Daytime, syndicated, one from 1999 to 2003, the leading family after round 4 automatically won the game regardless of their score, even though most families in this period reached 300 points. In addition, the controlling family was only given 1 strike for that round instead of 3 before the opposing family was given the chance to steal. This sometimes created an unusual situation in which a family could win even if the other family successfully made a steal if the answers revealed were not worth enough points. Other times, when an opposing family already had more points than the bank, if a controlling family gave an incorrect answer, the game would automatically end. The sudden death round uses only the number 1 answer from a survey worth triple points. From 1999 to 2003, this was only played if the families were tied after round 4. Lollipop Trees, from March 2, 1983 through June 14, 1985, a tree of Tootsie Pops was placed next to the anchor player on each team. When it was introduced, the player chose a lollipop, and if it had a black stem the family won a $100 bonus, which did not affect the outcome of the game. Fast Money, the winning family plays Fast Money and chooses 2 family members to participate in the round. One family member leaves the stage and is placed in an isolation booth, while the other is given 20 seconds to answer 5 questions. The clock begins counting down after the host finishes reading the first question. If the contestant cannot think of an answer to a question, he or she may pass and revisit a past question at the end if time permits. If time runs out and all the questions have not been asked yet, they will still be in play as long as they have not been passed. The number of people giving each answer is revealed once all 5 answers are given or time has expired, whichever comes first. The player earns 1 point for each person that gave the same answer. At least 2 people must have given that answer for it to score. When revealing the number of people giving the same response, it is most commonly revealed with the phrase, "Our survey said." Once all the points for the first player are tallied, the second family member comes back on stage with the first contestant's answers covered and is given 25 seconds to answer the same 5 questions. If the second player gives the same answer as the first player on a question, a double buzzer will sound and the host will ask for another response, usually by telling the contestant, "Try again." If one or both family members accumulate a total of 200 points or more, the family wins the top prize. If both family members score a total of less than 200 points, each point awards the family $5. Until 1992, the bonus for winning fast money was $5,000 on all daytime versions and $10,000 on all syndicated versions. From 1992 to 1995, the top prize was the amount accumulated in the Bullseye Bankroll round. The top prize reverted to $10,000 from 1999 to 2001, but was raised to $20,000 in 2001, an increase requested by host Louie Anderson because of inflation. The top prize remained at that level until 2009, at which point the Bullseye round was reinstated, with a potential top prize of $30,000. The top prize reverted to $20,000 and the Bullseye round was removed at the beginning of the 2010 Euro 11 season. Since 2009, 5-time champion families also receive a new car. On the game show marathon episode, the top prize was increased to $50,000 for a home viewer. On Celebrity Family Feud, the jackpot was $50,000 to the charity. If the goal was not reached, the $5 per point rule was discarded and $25,000 was awarded to the charity instead. Broadcast history, 1976 Euro 85. Family Feud was created during the increasing popularity of the Goodson Todman game show, Match Game, which set daytime ratings records in 1976. Richard Dawson, one of Match Game's most popular panelists, was the immediate next choice as host of the spin-off, which combined the team format and form of questioning from the original 1960s Match Game with the survey polling used for the 1970s version's audience match. Family Feud premiered on ABC's daytime lineup on July 12, 1976 at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, with Dawson as host and Gene Wood as announcer. Although it was not an immediate hit, ABC moved the series to 11:30 a.m. on April 25, 1977, where the series became a ratings winner and eventually surpassed the series it was spun off from, Match Game, to become the #1 game show in daytime. The popularity of Family Feud in daytime inspired Goodson Todman Productions to consider producing a nighttime edition, teaming up with Viacom to launch that series on September 18, 1977 on local stations including those owned and operated by NBC. Like many other game shows at the time, the Nighttime Feud aired once a week. Like its daytime counterpart, the Nighttime Feud became a hit and expanded to twice weekly in January 1979. Family Feud moved to 12:00 noon on June 30, 1980 after the $20,000 pyramid was cancelled, while reruns of The Love Boat filled the 11 a.m. hour. Later, in September of that year, the syndicated Feud went from being aired twice weekly to airing daily like the daytime series. By 1984, ratings for both editions of Feud had slipped from their peak due in part to changing viewing habits in both daytime and syndication. In October 1984, after over 4 years at noon, ABC moved the daytime Feud back to its previous 11:30 a.m. time slot and paired it with Trivia Trap, another Goodson production, to make up a game-centric hour and better compete with the lineups on CBS and NBC. The network did not get the ratings they desired from the hour and ABC decided that they would not renew Feud at the end of the season in the spring. In January 1985, a cancellation notice for the syndicated edition came as well. On May 17, 1985, the syndicated Feud aired its final episode with very little indication to the home audience that it was indeed the finale. Dawson made a comment about the audience being too late, when they greeted him with a standing ovation, and he closed the show in a different manner than he normally did, but there was no explicit statement. The finale week of the daytime Feud began on June 10, 1985. Unlike on the syndicated series, the daytime series explicitly stated at the top of the Monday episode of the week that Feud was ending. Each day that week the impending end was noted at the beginning of the episode with some sort of commemoration, such as Dawson giving a total of all the money won across all of the series run on the first episode of the week, and Dawson being moved to tears by the ovation he received on the June 14, 1985 episode. At the end of the episode he gave an emotional farewell speech to the audience, and Gene would thank Dawson and the nationwide audience during the feed plugs at the end of the half hour. 1988 to Euro 93. 3 years after the original version ended, Family Feud returned to both daytime and syndication, with stand-up comedian Ray Coombs taking over for Dawson as host. On July 4, 1988, CBS premiered the new Family Feud at 10 a.m. Eastern, replacing the $25,000 pyramid. On September 19, the accompanying primetime syndicated series premiered. Both series were taped at Studio 33 at CBS Television City. On January 14, 1991, the show moved to the 10:30 a.m. time slot vacated by the daytime Wheel of Fortune. On June 29, 1992, the daytime version, renamed Family Feud Challenge, added the Bullseye Round. This coincided with an expansion to a full hour, from 10:00 to 11 a.m. The change in the format resulted in 3 families competing on each episode. 2 families competed in the first half hour for the right to play the returning champions in the second half. Family Feud Challenge aired its final new episode on March 26, 1993, with reruns airing until September 10. The syndicated series adopted the Bullseye Round at the start of Season 5, but kept its half-hour format. The show also changed its name to the new Family Feud to coincide with this change. 1993 to Euro 95. Although the daytime Feud was cancelled by CBS, the syndicated series remained in production and was entering Season 6 in September 1993. For the first time in its history, Feud took its production on the road and recorded 3 weeks of celebrity specials at Opryland USA in Nashville, Tennessee to serve as the premiere episodes for the season. Following these, the show returned to CBS Television City to resume taping. While this was going on, a shake-up at Mark Goodson Productions was in turn ready to cause one at Feud. Mark Goodson died on December 18, 1992, and his son Jonathan took control of his father's company. Although the syndicated Feud had been renewed for a 6th season, it had been struggling in the ratings for some time, and Goodson was beginning to deal with an increasing number of cancellation threats from local stations. Needing something to combat this and keep Feud on the air, the company began brainstorming for ideas to accomplish that. One of the ideas that was considered involved a change in host. The belief was that if the producers replaced Coombs with original host Richard Dawson, whom Goodson's father had clashed with during the previous series and who Mark Goodson refused to consider for the position in 1988, the ratings issues would be resolved. Goodson agreed with the idea and offered Dawson, who outside of his 1987 appearance in the film The Running Man had largely retired, a chance to return to Feud, which Dawson accepted. Coombs was not happy with his dismissal after 6 years, and following the final show of the 1993 Euro 94 season he immediately left the studio without saying goodbye to anyone. To prepare for Dawson's return, Family Feud underwent a large aesthetic overhaul. Gone were the family's name slider boards and living room scenery, the 3-paneled game board, and most of the set pieces and lights. In order to create a more modern look and feel, the entire set was covered with glass panels and a dark blue backdrop, which changed colors to red for the Fast Money round. The Ferranti-Packard board was used as the game board as well as for Fast Money, much in the same vein that the British Family Fortunes was doing at the time. A major difference, though, went hand in hand with the modern design idea put in place a Euro for the home audience, a computer-generated display was superimposed over the Ferranti-Packard board during the bankroll round and the entire main game, with the Ferranti-Packard board only shown for fast money and the Family Feud display screen it usually was used to show. The team size was reduced to 4 for this season, and as noted above the bullseye round was reworked to accommodate this, becoming known as the bankroll round. As the daytime version had earlier, the syndicated version expanded to 60 minutes in length from 30, adopting the Family Feud challenge format. However, affiliates were not required to carry both halves of the show. In addition, several families who had appeared on Feud when Dawson was originally hosting were invited back to play again. Dawson's return did not bring the higher ratings the producers desired and the syndicated feud was finally cancelled at the end of the 1994-95 season. 1999-2002, after a 4-year hiatus, Family Feud returned in syndication on September 20, 1999. Dawson was offered the choice of returning to the hosting position, but turned it down and decided to have no further involvement with the show. With Dawson's retirement, producers chose Louie Anderson to host the new incarnation of the show over other leading candidate Dolly Parton. Burton Richardson became the new version's announcer. 2002-06, Richard Karn was selected to take over for Anderson in Season 4 on September 16, 2002. The same game format was used, but returning champions were reintroduced and could appear up to 5 days. In mid-November, 2 months after the start of the season, the retooled version of the show's theme song was replaced by the one previously used on the Coombs version. In 2003, production moved to Stage 6 at Tribune Studios in Hollywood, California. Families again needed to accumulate 300 points to win, and the third round was worth double points. However, for all rounds worth triple points, Karn would not read the question again after the face-off. In addition, the Coombs-era theme was replaced by the retooled theme and remained unchanged for the rest of Karn's run. At the end of Season 7, Karn left the show and he was replaced by John O'Hurley. Pieces from the set were later sold on eBay, 2006 €10, while the rules remained virtually the same for the O'Hurley run of the show. The set was completely overhauled as a throwback to the original Dawson set. This included the game board, logo and face-off and family podiums. The set was also the only one to feature audience in the round. The music used from 2006-08 was a remixed version of the Anderson/Karn theme, before reverting to the Coombs version for the 2008 September season. 2010 present, on January 20, 2010. Following the departure of O'Hurley and Richardson, comedian Steve Harvey was announced as the new host for Season 12 with former NSYNC member Joey Fatton becoming the new announcer. The show also moved taping locations to Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. The gameplay also returned to its 2003-09 format, although 5-time champions still win a car as a bonus. The fast money jackpot reverted to a flat $20,000. Hometown family moments featuring members of the winning family sponsored by Comfort Inn and Suites were also added. These were dropped at the beginning of the 2012-13 season. After Harvey began hosting, ratings increased by as much as 40% from O'Hurley's last season as host. 2 years later, the show had jumped from a Nielsen rating of 1.5 to 4.0, to become the 5th most popular syndicated program. On May 7, 2011, announced via the show's official Twitter page, the show moved taping locations for the 2011-12 season to the Atlanta Civic Center in Atlanta, Georgia, where Harvey lives and hosts his radio show. On June 22, 2014, Harvey won the Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Game Show Host for hosting Family Feud. The show has been renewed through the 2016-17 season, and started airing in HD at the start of the 2012-13 season on September 10, 2012. On standard-definition television broadcasts, the series continues to be displayed with a 4:3 aspect ratio. Family Feud regularly ranks in the top 10 highest-rated programs in all of daytime television programming. In February 2014, the show achieved a 6.0 share in the Nielsen ratings, with approximately 8.8 million viewers. Production. Other production staff: Gabrielle Johnston, a Goodson Todman staffer since the 1970s, is the show's executive producer, years after she was the show's associate producer of the 1980s version. Kristen Bjorklund and Brian Holley are the current supervising producers, with Bjorklund also having been associate producer of the 1980s version. Previous staff members include Howard Felcher, the show's original producer before being an executive producer in the 1980s version, who was also a Goodson Todman staffer since the 1960s, and Kathy Richard Dawson, the show's original associate producer, who then became producer. Georgia Purcell assumed the associate producer role later in the series. Chester Feldman, who was a creative consultant for Goodson Todman in the 1970s, was the show's executive producer in the 1980s version. Mark Dawson, Richard's son, was a writer and consultant on the show throughout much of his father's time as host. During the Dawson and Coombs versions, Gene Wood was the regular announcer. On the 1976 Dawson versions, Johnny Gilbert and Rod Roddy substituted on different occasions. On the Coombs versions, Roddy, Art James, and Charlie O'Donnell substituted. Burton Richardson was the announcer for all episodes from 1999 to 2010, except for the game show marathon finale episode in 2006, which was announced by Rich Fields. Joey Fatton has been the new announcer since the beginning of season 12. Production company and distribution: Family Feud was originally produced by Mark Goodson Bill Todman Productions. Todman's name was dropped from the company after his death in 1979, and it was known as Mark Goodson Productions until 1995. The current version of the show used that name and logo from 1999 to 2002 even though the original production company no longer existed. The show's copyright holder was called the Family Company from 1976 to 1985, the New Family Company from 1988 to 1994, Mark Goodson Productions, LP from 1994 to 1995, and Feud in Productions from 1999 to 2010. Family Feud's copyright holder is called Wanderlust Productions. Since 2002, the show has been produced by RTL Group subsidiary Fremantle Media North America, as a successor to Mark Goodson Productions. Viacom Enterprises, now known as CBS Television Distribution, distributed the syndicated version from 1977 to 1985. From 1988 to 1995 and 1999 to 2002, it was distributed by Fremantle Media. It was distributed by Tribune Entertainment from 2002 to 2007, when Lionsgate-owned Debmar Mercury assumed distribution and 20th Television assumed ad sales. Returning champions: on the ABC daytime version, champion families could stay until they were defeated or reached or exceeded $25,000 in winnings. On the syndicated version from 1977 to 1985 and again from 1999 to 2002, 2 new families competed on each episode. The 1988 to Euro 95 version featured returning champions, as has the current version since 2002. From 1988 to 1992 and again since 2002, the limit has been 5 appearances. From 1992 to 1995, champions continued until defeated. Since the 2009 Euro 10 season, families who retire undefeated also win a new car. Tournament of Champions, 1988 to Euro 94. The 1988 to Euro 94 version carried special tournaments for the 4 highest winning families from certain periods of time returning for a winner-take-all Tournament of Champions. These were rarely held at first for both the CBS and syndicated versions. The main game rules applied, but if a family reached 200 points in fast money, $5,000 went into a jackpot that started at $25,000 and went up to potentially $55,000 on the CBS version. Likewise, on the syndicated version, the jackpot started at $50,000 and went up $10,000 for each time fast money was won, up to a possible $110,000. If the score was less than 200, nothing was added to the jackpot, as the $5 a point rule was discarded for the tournament. Each semi-final was the best of 3 games, with the first family in each one to win 2 games advancing to the finals, which was also a best of 3 match. There was no fast money round played during the finals. The scoring was similar to the 1984 Euro 85 season or the regular CBS syndicated version from late 1989 to 1990 in the finals, with the first family to reach 400 winning the game instead of 300. The first family to win 2 out of 3 games won everything in the jackpot in addition to what they won in the regular game. No additional tournaments were conducted on the syndicated version after Season 2. The CBS version continued conducting them, but in mid-1990, tournaments were held every month, with the top 4 money-winning families of the previous month returning. The main game point goals for winning a semi-final and a final game were the same, but the match format was changed from the best of 3 to a 1-game match for both the semi-finals and the finals. Thus, the potential maximum was lowered to $35,000. 2002 Euro present. The current version began doing tournaments in 2002. The first occurred in May 2002 with the Family Circle Tournament of Champions, with 8 winning families returning in a single elimination tournament. The jackpot started at $50,000 and went up $20,000 for each time fast money was won, up to a possible $170,000. For this particular tournament only, if fast money was not won, $5 per point was added to the jackpot. Each game was played to 300 points except for the finals, which required 500 points to win the game and the jackpot. The winning team for this tournament won a trip to Charleston, South Carolina and tickets to the Family Circle Cup Women's Tennis Tournament in nearby Daniel Island, in addition to the money, which was $112,230. The runners-up for this tournament won a trip to Jamaica. This version, however, did not do tournaments on an occasional basis until May 2005. Again, 8 families were brought back, but this time, they consisted of either families who previously lost their first game for the tournament that was held in May 2005 and May 2006, or previously winning families, but not necessarily focusing on the higher winning families of the past for the tournament held in February 2006. The differences at this point for the tournaments were that the jackpot started with nothing, except for the February 2006 Tournament of Champions, which began at $10,000, for a possible $130,000. Losses in fast money did not add anything to the jackpot, as in the 1988 Euro 94 version and the championship game was played to 400 points. Trips were sometimes awarded to the jackpot-winning family, including Hawaii during the February 2006 tournament and Mexico during the May 2006 tournament. Again, no fast money was played in the finals. The tournament format did not return again until 2013, where the jackpot started at $40,000 and could get as high as $160,000 and was sponsored by Publishers Clearing House. As before, no fast money was played in the finals, and the first team to reach 400 points won the jackpot. The runners-up in this tournament received $20,000. All-Star Family Feud specials. During the week of Valentine's Day in February 1978, the Dawson daytime version ran its first all-celebrity week, which featured ABC soap stars competing. The success of this special week not only caused the show's ratings to peak, but also caused declining ratings of the network's soaps to increase. As a result, ABC created hour-long All-Star Family Feud specials, which were played between cast members of hit primetime and, on rare occasions, daytime series for charity. The first installment aired on May 8, 1978 and did so well in the ratings that new specials continued to air as a semi-regular sweeps event on the network until May 25, 1984. In the first half of the special, 2 teams played until one reached $200 or more. That team went on to play fast money for $5,000 and competed in the finals against the team that won in the second half, which was played the same way. The 2 winning teams then faced each other in a one-question showdown, with the team that won the pot going on to play fast money for an additional $10,000. Originally, only the cast members of ABC series competed in the All-Star specials, but when high ratings made it apparent that continuing to do so would soon exhaust the network's stable of celebrities, an agreement was reached with CBS, NBC, and the production companies, and stars of series from all three networks began appearing in the fall of 1979, similar to ABC's Battle of the Network Stars concept. At the time, networks did not own their own programming and had to rely on programming from the studios, who dealt with all three networks, and often, the battles were between shows from two different networks, even if it was the same production company. Underlying themes to the series casts were occasionally featured, such as Nighttime versus Daytime, featuring daytime soap stars competing against primetime TV stars, and some specials even removed the TV series cast format in favor of a single unifying theme among the four teams competing, such as Mutiny on the Love Boat, in which the cast of that show competed alongside such past guest stars as Robert Goulet, Jill St. John, Bert Parks and Rhonda Fleming. Celebrity Family Feud. While technically a revival of the All-Star Family Feud specials, this NBC primetime summer series, entitled Celebrity Family Feud, premiered on June 24, 2008 as a 6-week short series with Al Roker at the helm. This version featured teams composed of a celebrity captain and 4 friends or relatives, with a $50,000 charity payoff at stake. In addition, this version debuted set changes that were later introduced on the syndicated run for the 2008-09 season. This 6-week miniseries was part of NBC's All-American Summer, which also included America's Got Talent and MGM's revival of American Gladiators. The game format was similar to the All-Star specials. The families played 3 rounds. The winners of the 2 games played in another 3-round match for the right to play fast money. Family Feud Live. Family Feud Live is a stage show held at the Foxwoods Resort and Casino in Connecticut with several hosts, including Michael Berger and Mark Summers. The shows are produced in association with RTL Group officials, including former television director Andrew Felsher, producer Kathy Dawson, and others who have worked on the TV version of Family Feud and other game shows. The show also briefly ran at 2 Atlantic City casinos in 2006. In 2013, a touring version of Family Feud Live played fairs in the US and Canada, including the Calgary Stampede. Actress and former talk show host Caroline Rhea hosted the 2013 edition, making her the first woman to host an official iteration of the game show. The format emulates the TV show, with 2 sets of contestants going through the main portion of the game. Following this, 2 additional audience members play Fast Money. Video footage of funny moments from the history of Family Feud and a brief history of the program is also shown. International versions. With the success of the Australian, UK, and US versions, countries all over the world have attempted to emulate the success of these game shows. A summary of such attempts may be found at the article above. Home versions. Dozens of home versions have been released in various formats since the show's premiere in 1976. Milton Bradley, Pressman Games, and Endless Games have all released home versions of the show, which have occasionally been given to contestants of the show. Tiger Electronics released 2 electronic handheld games in 1998 and 1999, which also included expansion cartridges. In 2004, Imagination Entertainment released a DVD game of Family Feud, a 2nd edition in 2006, and a 3rd edition in 2007, with a movie edition of the DVD game also being released that same year. The game has been released in other formats by multiple companies, with each company generally releasing a number of games over a period of years for different mediums. Coleco Adam released the first computer version of the show in 1983, and ShareData followed in 1987 with versions for MS-DOS, Commodore 64, and Apple II computers. GameTech released versions for NES, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, Panasonic 3DO, and PC between 1990 and 1995. Hasbro Interactive released a version in 2000 for the PC and PlayStation. In 2006, versions were released for PlayStation 2, Game Boy Advance, and PC. Online versions appeared on Uproar.com and iWin.com. Seattle-based Mobliss Incorporated also released a mobile version of Family Feud that was available on Sprint, Verizon, and Cingular. Glue Mobile released a newer mobile version of Family Feud for other carriers. Ubisoft released multiple versions for the Wii, Nintendo DS, and PC in 2009, and released Family Feud Decades, which features sets and survey questions from television versions from the past 4 decades in 2010. Family Feud 2012 was released for the Wii and Xbox 360 in 2011. Episode status and reruns: all episodes still exist. Reruns have aired on GSN since the network's launch. The network currently airs the Karn, O'Early, and Harvey versions. A DVD set titled All-Star Family Feud was released on January 8, 2008 and featured a total of 21 celebrity episodes from the original ABC syndicated versions on its 4 discs. It was reissued as the Best of All-Star Family Feud on February 2, 2010. See also: List of international game shows, references. External links, official website, official website, official website, official website, Family Feud at the Internet Movie Database, All-Star Family Feud Special at the Internet Movie Database, Family Feud at the Internet Movie Database, Family Feud at the Internet Movie Database, Celebrity Family Feud at the Internet Movie Database,